it's a race car. It runs 300 miles an hour. There's things that happen, you know, you have to pay attention, and you know, it's kind of, I'm not scared of it, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for what it's able to do and what it could possibly do. So
good, buddy. Quick tree.
very.
As soon as you go in, I'm throwing it.
Yep.
Okay, so it'll slide through.
Well, it rolls through. Well, once I go to full throttle, it rolls through.
Yeah, we won't let that happen. As soon as you hit that that stage light, I'm throwing it.
You got it.
All right.
I can tell whatever you're ready. You tell me. I'll give them the heads up, and then we'll fire.
I don't know if it'll crank again or not, but I'll try it.
But what happened? Something like when it took off, it seemed like there was a boom, and then
I don't know.
It went flat.
I don't know. Number 3 wouldn't start. Here, listen. That's the igniter. I've had a lot of people say, how do you go about building a jet truck like this? And I said, well, first thing you do is you tape off this big rectangle in the floor. They said, what's that for? I said, that's the trailer. It's got to go in there when I'm done. So we kind of start building inside that box. We say, okay, we're going to use these tires and wheels. We roll them in. We're going to use these motors, so we mock them up and stand them where we want them. And then we're going to use this body, so we kind of suspend it in air and build trusses for it. And then once we get all of the hard parts that we can't change, that have to be in a certain spot, then we start working on dimensions. And then once we get the base dimensions down, then we go to the surface plate and start laying out the chassis. This truck weighs right at 6,200 pounds. It's got 18,000 pounds of thrust, 6,000 pounds out of each of the GE J85 afterburning engines. The engines will do about 3,000 pounds dry, and then another 3,000 with the afterburner. So that'll bring it up to roughly 36,000 horsepower. So fortunately for me, the ones that I use are the GE J85s. They were used in the T-38 and F-5 fighter jets with afterburners on them, but there was a civilian use for that engine without an afterburner, which was on the Lear 23s and 24s. Now, since the government outlawed all of those, that flooded the market with a surplus of these engines. And we build our own afterburners because they're much lighter than the military afterburners, and we know how to service them and get parts for them and repair them. So by doing that, I bought out a company in Michigan and bought 17 engines at one time. And I paid less for those 17 than I did 2 of my first jet engines when they were still running on aircraft. So we're very fortunate that the U.S. called a halt to those noisy J85s, and the civilian number is CJ610. So same engine, different fuel control is the only difference. They run 101% on civilian, 104% on military. But like any good racer, we take the fuel controls apart and we modify them, and we run them about 109%. The fastest that truck has been was at Tyndall Air Force Base. I did a full half-mile run with it and it ran 374 miles an hour. Quarter mile, we're actually limited by NHRA, and it's a good thing. It's a safety thing. We're right in the 200 mile an hour range, because 6,000 pounds at 200 miles an hour with a lot of rotating mass like tractor trailer tires is hard to stop, even with 2 parachutes. So you'll see all 3 of us use up every bit of the shutdown area tonight. It's kind of a self-supporting hobby, I guess you could call it. You know, back before COVID hit, we were doing 18 to 20 shows a year. So yeah, it was making a little bit more money than what it costs to operate it. But you know, recently with the advent of COVID, we've dropped down to 8 or 10 shows a year, which, you know, that's just paying the bills. You know, it's not doing anything fantastic, but you know, it's a 300 mile an hour plus vehicle. You can't expect it to not break and not have issues and not have to work on it.